Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Stu.
Hello. Oh, hi. Thank you very much. How was your dinner?
Very nice. Sometimes a little bit like normal, too quick because I was too busy speaking to people and got a little bit late because I was in another meeting. But all good.
It's okay. I don't know if you remember. I remember I have a broadcasting background where we're sometimes required to fill a gap. So I filled the gap, and we're delighted that you're able to join us. Thank you for doing that. I wondered, perhaps explain exactly where you are. You're in a hotel which is near the training ground. Is that how it works?
Yeah, true. We're in a nice hotel here in close to Girona. Nice surroundings, facilities. So yeah, very pleased. Brought our two very good chefs, Liam and Jordan, that are preparing fantastic food for us, and so we are privileged.
Okay. I wonder what the mood was like in Spain after last night's defeat to Morocco. How are the hotel staff this morning? Are they all a bit down?
I think they were okay. I think the one person that was affected the most was Sergi, of obvious reasons. So we saw the penalty shootout, the whole staff and players together, and some was cheering for Morocco, and obviously Sergi and Manu was cheering for Spain. So there was a bit of banter.
Okay. Now, talking of Sergi and Spanish players, explain to us who's at the camp and who's not, because obviously the World Cup 6 have been, if you like, released from their duties at various stages. Are the Danish guys all with you? What's happening there?
No, so the three Danish guys, Saman and Brian, got a week. So that is this week to get a bit of rest and most importantly, refresh the head. David, unfortunately, as you just said, went out a couple of days ago, and he will be back next week around Thursday, I think we agreed.
Now, tell us what actually happens at a mid-season training camp, because I don't think we've had many before, as opposed to a pre-season training camp.
It's not too different. The only thing is that the fitness is always a big thing, as you guys know. It's the intensity and the intensity in the way we play is crucial. So we need to train with high intensity. We need to train very hard. We have a clear aim of being a top 3 fittest team, so we can go. But because of they only had 2 weeks off, basically only one, and then they actually had 1 week with a program from Chris Haslam and Tom Perriman. So they came back in a good place. So we push, of course. I always try to add an extra layer on the physical side, but not as important as a normal longer preseason. Then we have a chance to work on a few bits and pieces in terms of the technical level, working a bit on how to be a bit better on the ball, could try to control the games better, but maybe most importantly to try to create more chances in open play, definitely from the side, and produce crosses. Okay,
let's move on to the questions from the members. And the first one picks up on this, is while the squad are in Spain, are there going to be any actual games? And if there are, will fans be able to attend?
There will be a very, very secret game somewhere in Europe. I can't tell you where it is and who it's against, and unfortunately the fans can't attend, but we will play a game.
Okay, but I guess it's possible, depending on where it is, that it might be streamed by the media team, but I guess they'll let us know if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. We definitely do everything we can if possible. We want our fantastic fans to follow us. If it's not possible, then it's not because of bad will. We will really try hard to do that. I know that.
Okay. Now we've had 100 questions, actually 101 to be precise. Now there's obviously not going to be time for all of them, and there might even be more on the Q&A tonight. So I grouped some of them together, and you can perhaps pick out elements that particularly you pick up from. Here are 4, I think, all good ones about this idea, this reality of a break in the season. Ian Westbrook says, do you think the World Cup break has been a good thing or a bad thing for Brentford, and why? Jeff Buckingham was interested in what preparation you've been putting in for the resumption of the season, and obviously you've answered some of that just now, and how you've coped with any disruption. Mark Harvey says, how close are we to where you were anticipated you would be in the league at this point? And Lynn Morgan asking how you kind of kept motivated the players who weren't involved in the World Cup. So pick up some of those points, perhaps.
Yeah, I think I'll just go a little bit random from what I heard and try to give my best answer to it. Personally, it was fantastic to have had 2 weeks off. And I think for the players, it was nice because we never get that opportunity, and it's relentless. For Brentford, which of course is my main aim, the way I see things, it is what it is. So I get on with it. I find the most positive we can take out of that situation. So I'm thinking, okay, refresh some players. Hopefully some players getting an experience for life by going to the World Cup. Now we have the refreshness, getting players back from injury, can work more in depth without that pressure of a competitive game every 6-7 days or every third or fourth day. So I think there's some benefit to it, and every single time we have a longer spell to train in, I always find bits and pieces we can try to improve together with my coaching staff. So in that aspect, it's good. The only thing we've said is that with that big win against City, it would have been lovely to meet in on a Monday and use that energy going into next week. But we of course will do our best to take the positive out of that game, show to the whole squad when everyone is together next week, and hopefully build on that.
Okay, I'll pick up on that Man City game and point in a moment. I just want to pick up on something, of course, that happens after the Man City game, or between that and now, which is Brian Riemer. So Barry March asks, how did you feel about Brian Riemer leaving?
Yeah, it's first, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for Brian. And I think everyone involved in Brentford, you fans, the staff members, players, I think it's credit to all of us that Brian get this opportunity in a huge club in Europe. Of course, Brian is a very good coach and deserve a massive credit to get the opportunity. But everyone has been part of giving Brian the best opportunity to go there. So I think it's fantastic. I think it's a fantastic story that we are not only developing good people, players and staff, but also good players that are going to different clubs, but also good staff members that get opportunities to go to other clubs. On a personal note, of course, it's also a bit sad. It's a very good friend of mine that I've been working with closely, night and day, almost for 4 years. Have some massive successes and some big downs. But when you experience those experiences together, you grow your relationship. So it's sad to see him leave in a way, but I just want the best for him and wish him all the best.
Okay, now of course, following that, we had the news of the arrival of Klaus Norgard, who you obviously know well. What do you want to tell us about him?
I think like when an important player leaves us, another player comes in, or a player in-house stepping up and new dynamic are being created. I think it's the same here. New dynamic will be created. Klaus is a very good coach that will come into the group and push things a little bit around, because he's a different personality than Brian, and then different things happens. But Klaus's experience from a long life in coaching will definitely help us. Very experienced. He will have the same focus areas, so he'll be in charge of the defensive side of the game. He will be doing everything he can to push our performance environment and our abilities to hopefully keep progressing this beautiful club.
Let's pick up on the issue of coaching, Thomas, because Don Tanswell asks, our pitch side team is much bigger than months ago. who are they and what do they do? I guess those are the guys sitting with you on the bench. We see them, some of them are familiar faces. We may not always be able to put a name to the faces. So just perhaps give us an idea who your closest colleagues are.
Yeah, we have the closest staff is first my three coaches. We have Klaus Norgard now, Justin Cochran, and Kevin O'Connor are the three assistant coaches with different responsibilities, but all of them a big part of how we can create the daily week and the game plan and develop players. Then we have Manu, who is our goalkeeping coach. We have Bernardo, who's helping with the set pieces, and then we have Chris Haslam, that's our head of performance. That's a big part of how we develop our performance environment and the physical part of it. And but you know, behind that is such a big staff of staff that helps and push. Also the strength and conditioning department, the sports science, the medical team, so many, the analysis department. We have a huge number of staff, and you keep growing, and that is good. But I also think it's important that we still keep that little bit tight togetherness.
I've just spotted a question coming from Nigel Miller. With your coach's hat on, what innovations or changes have you seen in the World Cup? Anything that we can learn from? The Spanish way now seems a little out of keeping with the way the other teams are playing. I guess that's sort of tippy-tappy. The commentary on British TV last night was tippy-tappy's had its day. What do you make of it? What's excited you actually about the games in the World Cup?
Yeah, I love, in general, I love the World Cup. I think we all have our own memories from that. Follow it, of course, closely. I think it's been, in some ways, a little bit strange World Cup. Not only because it's been November. I think some of the bigger teams have, you know, disappointed. In Denmark is not a bigger team, but it's a team that there was big expectations to, because of their good results and performances in the Euros. I think a big part of the political played its part. I think some teams got too distracted to focus on that. I know it's difficult to keep politics and sports apart these days, but sometimes it can just be too much. I think on the football side of it, I think some of the teams that obviously looked fantastic was been France and Brazil. Portugal, I think last night was really good, and a lot of them actually been quite good on the counters. I think that's the single big thing you can take out of it.
I think on the Q&A did last week, it was Denmark was almost too painful to talk about, but have you kind of got over that now? Was there much politics in Denmark about Qatar?
Yeah, there was. Unfortunately, it's not only that, you know, when you see a team not performing, it's not only one thing. Is it injuries? Is it just lack of performance? Is the right system, or is it the stupid coach who picked the wrong 11, or what is it? Or in this part, there was also a big political pressure from the outside. I think there was a lot of, especially the media was focusing a lot about the one love armband and or the rainbow armband and the human rights and everything was surrounded with Qatar. And we are such a small country that are very focused on being political correct, which is a very important thing in the modern world. And it's so difficult to make sure you either only play football or you either only talk politics. I think it got a little bit in the way, but it's not only that. It's also the performance of the team was unfortunately not to where we wanted it to be.
Okay, let's get back to success at Brentford then. People still buzzing about Man City. I got 4 questions I'm going to group together, but Niall O'Connor says, as a world-class coach, Thomas, what is the secret ingredient to get your players to believe they can beat a team like Man City? Good question, I think. I mean, let's be honest. I didn't. I think Phil Giles admitted on the Q&A that he didn't actually go to the Man City game. I have to admit, I didn't go either. I went to a game in Germany that day. I was slightly embarrassed to look at the score on my phone. So, fortunately, 3,000 fans did go. But those are all, how many of them were really optimistic? I had a feeling that many of them were not very optimistic. You've got to take your squad and get them to believe they can do it. How did you do it?
I think it's a fantastic question. I think it's, I have a lot of weaknesses. I think one of my strengths is I have a massive belief in the team and the players. And every single day I go in there and I believe we can beat any team in the world. Maybe it was a little bit difficult after the fantastic performance against Gillingham Tuesday night, where we lost on penalty shootout, and then we're meeting in Thursday morning, and the message needs to be clear. So normally we always do a debrief of the game before. This time decided not to, not only because of the cup tournament, but just look forward. Let's use all the energy, focus on try to beat City. And I put together a few things in the presentation we showed to the players Thursday morning. First and foremost, said we're going there for the win. We're not going there to try to get a point. No, we're going there to try to win. And it showed the last two times we played City. The first time we played City at home, where we lost 1-0, where we played, I think, without 5 normal starters, a lot of injured players. They only created just under 1.0 expected goals, which was the lowest expected goals, second lowest expected goals in the whole last season. The second game we played, where we lost 2-0, if you take the penalty out, which I think is a little bit false image or picture of the performance. If you take that out, we were 0.8 expected goals. So again, one of the lowest. So we have the 2 lowest XG against City, 2 of the 3 lowest XG against City in all of 38 games last year. So I showed in our 5-3-2 formation, it's very difficult to break us down. Then we talked about, okay, we need to close down De Bruyne. And we know on set pieces we're better than them. That's a fact. And we are going there for the win. And then we build it Thursday, Friday. Saturday morning, I said to them before the last meeting, I said to them that I want to beat City with their best players. I really hope Haaland is playing, because when we have beaten City, I want to beat them with their best players in the lineup. And then we went there, and then everything now is of course a fairy tale and a fantastic story. But even at halftime, it was 1-1. I said we had a feeling in first half that we did well, that they were a little bit frustrated, and even that they equalized, and you're going in a little bit on a down. I said, boys, we're never going to have a better chance of beating City at Etihad than this moment in time. Let's make sure we do everything to go for it. And then luckily it paid off.
Congratulations again. Now, Jonathan Money and Russell Wallman are not satisfied with that. They both ask why we seem to get better results against the top 6 than lower clubs.
Than other clubs?
Well, I mean, the teams further down the league. In other words, the team can pull it out against Manchester City and Manchester United. But sometimes, I mean, I won't mention Gillingham because it's completely different, but teams in the middle of the table, should we say? Is that a fair comment on that?
Yeah, I think it's I have a feeling, I don't know exactly. Let's say we played 53 games in the Premier League. I'm pretty sure that our point average, if you want to go from that, I don't know exactly, is still higher than against the bottom 13, if you take that, than the top 6. I'm pretty sure we still get more points against them. I like that the expectations to us rise, but I think we all of us, and I mean fans included, me, staff, players, are doing a top job. Last year we were promoted, 100% the lowest budget in the league. This year, second season, second lowest budget. we're still doing wonders, all of us together. And I know when we win games, expectations rise, and that's part of it. That's fantastic. I just think we found a pretty good winning formula against top 6 clubs, and a big belief. And I think it's honestly extremely remarkable that we have in 1.5 seasons now beaten Man United, beaten City, beaten Arsenal, beaten Chelsea, drawn with Liverpool, drawn with Tottenham. I think there's a lot of teams that's played 5-6 years in the Premier League, never done that. I think that's unbelievable. We do want to get more points, and we work hard on it.
Look, that leads into Sarah Lowenfeld's question. When you first arrived to be assistant head coach, did you ever imagine we'd beat both Manchester teams in the same season?
I never thought about that. I think when I arrived, my first thing was just to try to do the best for this club, and next try to do the best for Dean Smith and Richard O'Kelly, and to do the best to improve them and help them. Of course, I had a dream of being the head coach one day, and privileged that it worked out the way it did, because Dean and Richard went to another club and got a big offer there.
Now, of course, leading on from that success, there are people saying, Mark Malfi, after beating both Manchester teams, it's so good, let's say it again. When will the Bees move to the European stage? Frank Carroll from the Irish Bees, when do you realistically see Brentford competing in Europe? Picking up from that, when on the call last week, you were making the point, similar to different to what you've just been saying now, that actually the gap between, say, 6th or 5th and 18th is, really clubs are quite similar. So actually, is it totally unrealistic to think that we might, qualify for the Europa Conference League, which last year I think that was 8th place with Leicester? If we're in 10th place now, why couldn't we get to 8th place?
I think top 6, but maybe it's going to be top 7 with Newcastle because of the money. I think it's going to be very, very difficult unless, excuse my words, Newcastle fuck it up, or some of the other guys will. But there's just it's a clear principle or theory that money give big opportunity for success, and the difference in money between the top 7 and the rest of us is so big, so it'll be difficult to go past them in the longer run. Not that it's not possible one season, but over time it will not happen. And I think since Leicester won the title, I don't think one other club than the so-called top 6 clubs have been in the 4 Champions League spot. So I think that's your clear signal that is very, very difficult. That said, I think we, as any of the other clubs in Premier League, have a good chance of finishing 8 with the other team. The margins between the teams is so small, and we do everything we can to maximize the smallest detail. We want to maximize and try to get us up there, and why not? Why shouldn't it be possible one season or more seasons if everything is clicking? I think it demands that we are a little less unlucky with injured players. We need our key players playing. I think we've been more lucky, and it's definitely not a criticizing the medical department, because we have a lot of how can you say, found out what is the reason behind the injuries, and we've been very unlucky, very, very unlucky injuries. There's not a pattern in hamstrings or whatever. We're doing a top job there. So we have all our best players available. I think everything is possible.
So I think we had some on that injury point. I think there was about 3 people asking, why are there so many injuries during training? That's Greville or Waterman. Why are there muscle injuries? That's Tony Ryan. Philip Norman saying, why so many hamstring injuries? You're saying what you've looked at the stats and it didn't quite like that. What?
Yeah, last year we had a few hamstring injuries that we looked really into, and there was no real pattern in why we had more hamstring injuries. There's a general theme across Premier League because it's so intense. that there is just more hamstring injuries in the league, even that you are building the players strong. They do a lot of gym, they do a lot of what do you call it? I've lost the word, but a lot of gym. There was another word for the core stability work. That was the word. We have a lot of we screen the players very, very often, so they can't never drop in their strength markers. Then we're aware of it, make a lot of adjustments. But anyway, we did this big not investigation, but what do you call it? Investigation. Where we found out that there's a few things we need to do better for the hamstrings. Tick that box, and then this year we struggle a little bit with the doctors. So now we need to find out why is it that we have that. In training, we got a lot of contact, not a lot, but a few-ish contact injuries, and we are very competitive in the way we train. I rather want to train with high intensity and big competitiveness, because if we don't that, then we can't compete at the level we want to on a Saturday.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to something different. It's a bit of an elephant in the room, which I'm sure you're expecting, which is there were, I think I said 101 questions, and the biggest number about any single point was about the Ivan Toney situation in the light of the allegations against him. At Bees United, we've published an article with all that's known and what we don't know about the episode. Phil Giles talked about it last week. What more can you tell us, if anything, about the situation?
I think Phil covered it quite well last week, and he's taken care of that together with Ivan. What I'm doing my best to is focusing on what's happening on the pitch, doing everything I can to get Ivan in the best possible place together with him. He's very motivated, came back in a very good place, trained very well, pushed himself on them and his teammates every single day. So yeah, we just do what we can to perform and train well on the pitch. And then we will see what's happening for the future. I don't know anything what will happen or when. Phil is on top of that.
Thanks, Thomas, and we appreciate that. Next most popular for questions was the transfer window. And again, obviously, this is primarily Phil's role. So Alan Drury asks, how much are you involved with the selecting and the signing of players, and indeed the releasing of players?
Quite a lot. I think one of the reasons why we've been very successful over the last many years, but I can speak for my 6 years in the club and the last 4 years in charge, is that we're doing it together. So it's between Phil Giles, Lee Dykes, our technical director, Matthew, of course, and the coaching staff. There's a long process behind it. We have all our data, we have all the video reports, we have all that. And in the end, and then we have a plan we have, of course, every position covered with endless list of names and prioritize them. And then, of course, for every transfer window, we know what positions we are looking for, but we're always open for if this top young player is coming or a good deal. We need to look into that.
Any particular parts of the squad that you personally would quite like to see strengthened?
No, I think I'm quite happy with the squad, but of course we want to make it stronger all the time. So and that'll be a little bit vague answer for me there, but of course, we are out there and we will look, and I will always try to push, not for many, maybe one player in January. I would like that just to both freshen things up and get maybe more quality in the squad. We always want that, all of us. And in terms of, in the end, we decide which player we're going for, and I'm privileged to be in a position that we take the decision together. But in the end, it's me who says yes or no, because I need to feel it, my gut feel in my stomach, if I want to play him or not. because I don't want to play him. It's make no sense to buy him. But the most time we are agreeing.
We've got some questions about individual players, and the first one is about somebody who was signed actually, at the start of the season, which is Ben Mee. Paul Della says, is the signing of Ben Mee on a free transfer our best signing during your time? Or one of our best?
Yeah, definitely one of our best signings. I think he came in to the squad in the moment where we 100% needed a quality centre back and also experienced centre backs. Ethan out, Sanka out, Christopher injured, and bringing Ben in the way he's been smooth transitioned into the team in the group is a big credit to Ben, but also to the group of players. And I think he's been a very consistent performer in the first 15 games, and a fantastic guy to be around. Really enjoy working with him.
Now, from one of the most recent signings to one of the longest serving players, Sergi. Mark Bonner wants to know, is he part of your long-term plans? And did his red card digression affect your perception of his temperament? I think we all remember that moment against Leeds where his...
I think the red card was probably not his finest moment in the Brentford shirt. I think we can all agree on that. I would say that one of his finest moments were the first Premier League goal against Arsenal, which I will forever remember. And I clearly that I said to him in front of all the players that I was so pleased that he got it, because he I think I can't remember him or Rico, but definitely one of the two longest serving players in the Brentford shirt in the current squad. So I think it was fantastic that he scored that first goal. Sergi's been unbelievable unlucky with injury this season. That's why he's barely played any minutes. Got injured in the preseason, took time, setback, So now he's back training and hopefully can push and play for us.
Liam Lane says, is it true there is and has been for a while a contract renewal in front of David Raya? And is there any update on this? In other words, has the club put a contract offer to David and he hasn't yet replied?
I think David is a top keeper. We really like him. For me, he could stay forever. I understand that there are certain players in our squad, a lot of players that are interested in. It will not surprise me if David was one of them. What will happen in the future, I don't know. I hope he stays.
Okay, I think we can read the conclusions from that. Thank you. Theo El Mawi, how long do you expect until Damsgaard becomes a regular starter, if he will be?
You always want that as quick as possible. That's what you hope for. I think we got an incredible opportunity to sign him, because especially after his Euros, I think he showed to the world what a top player is. Unfortunately, he had a major setback almost for a whole year with his situation with arthritis and injury and all these situations. He's past that. He's training well. He's building his body, and that just takes time, longer than you sometimes see. Plus, he's coming into a team that are performing well. So that maybe that space or opportunity to get 3 games in a row is maybe a little bit more difficult, but it's a player that I have a big belief in, and hopefully it will be more and more. And
of course, he did start for Denmark in one game. Somebody else who'd had injury problems in the past, Josh de Silva, Nigel Miller says, how close do you think Josh is to being back to his very best? Is he totally free of his longer term injury?
Yes, I would say so. He's also a player a little bit in the bracket of injured players, players coming back from bigger injury like Damsgaard. I think he's closer and closer. I think we saw glimpses of his high quality this season, especially the goal against Leicester. I think the fantastic assist against City. I don't think the City players knew the real ability from Josh. So that was fantastic.
And I can see there's one question, I can't see quite who it's from, asking about Aaron Hickey. What's the latest on Aaron Hickey?
Aaron Hickey is doing very well. He's ahead of the schedule. So he's not with us here in Girona, but he will join the group part training from Monday. At least that's the plan. So hopefully I expect him to train very hard with the guys back in Jersey Road.
And final question on players from Peter Clements. What is Saman Ghoddos' best position? That's a question to ponder.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's in one of the 8 positions in a 4-3-3 or one of the 8 positions in a 3-5-2, which have been the 2 main systems I've been playing this season. I think he is a player that are very flexible. He can also play a 10 winger. And I think he's been doing a top job for us when he's come on as a wing back. Even when he started against Tottenham, I think he did a very good job there.
Now, tactics. You won't be surprised to know that we have some real tactical experts amongst our fans, and that some of them have really quite strong opinions. But the first one is a sort of very gentle question. Peter Watkins, tell us about a game in which you made a mid-match tactical adjustment that completely changed the outcome. And what did it do? I mean, I think probably that understates it really, because nowadays with 5 substitutes, you're quite often making multiple tactical adjustments, aren't you?
Yeah. I think I tried always to plan the game. So I have the plan A, which is a game plan. Then we have the plan B. That is if it's we need to be going even more offensive, or we just draw and try to win. And then there's plan C. That is if we are behind and we need to win and maybe need to go, if not ultra offensive, then definitely go even more for it. And I think in some games where I have the most happy for that, I have like a go-to very offensive formation, which for me is a 3-4-3, but just with more offensive players in the positions. And we did that against Leicester when we were 2-0 down, where we put Vita as the left centre back, and we did it against Fulham, and we did it against Crystal Palace away. So a midfield down in one of the centre back position, maybe a fullback, which was been Hickey or Mads Roslov in one of the other centre back position, and then on the wing backs is basically wingers playing, and the 2 sitters could be Justice Silva and Matthijs Jensen. That is probably 2 very offensive midfielders and no so-called spoilers, and then you basically play with maybe 3 attackers. And if we should make one go, now just got me thinking as you that Everton away, where we won that fantastic 3-2 win. At halftime, we played against 10. Took Mads Bech Sørensen out, put Vita down as the centre back. So at one stage of the game, we played with 2 defenders. That was Pontus and Rico. Then we played with Klaus Norgard and Vita as the 2 outside centre backs. Then we played with actually basically 3 number 10s in the 3 midfielders, and we played with 3 strikers. So that was very offensive.
It was an extraordinary game in every way, wasn't it? All this while the fact that Everton fans, the noise was simply unbelievable. And so how the hell are you communicating all these tactical changes to the team?
So in some games, basically impossible. Of course, this game I adjusted something at halftime. And then when you make the subs, you try to give the message to the sub you're subbing on, and he needs to communicate to the next players, and it is very difficult. The thing is, we are of course are training. So this offensive formation, the 3-4-3, I'm training that with players in the offensive positions, so they know, okay, change, we do this, so they know what they have to do. But of course. I'm not training the 3-4-3 formation every week, but I train it every second week, so they try to reinforce the messages.
Right, some bold statements. John Barr, why do we overcrowd the penalty area on set pieces but still concede at times? I guess he means defensive set pieces when you're in defence. Do we overcrowd the penalty area but still concede? Well, it's clearly still do concede at sometimes, but are we overcrowding the penalty area?
I don't think so. I'm a strong believer that I know some teams put 1, 2, 3 players up. I don't believe in that. And if you look in the modern day, if teams put 3 up, if that was against us, we just say happy days. And then I'll tell you it'll be 2 corners and then I'll have everyone back again. Because then we have a solution of short corners or 3v2, and then they'll be scared and then we'll have all 3 players back again. What I would say is that I am not satisfied with the level of our defensive set pieces in terms of the amount of goals we conceded this year. We conceded 8, so it's way too many. I would say that we've been unlucky in some of it. If we look at the chances and expected goals, it's not even close to what we should have conceded. But we had a big review of our defensive set pieces after 7, 8, 9 games. I think we conceded 4 or 5 in these 9 games. Where we went through everything and changed the system a tiny bit and went from 4 zoners to 3 zoner, and I trained a lot on with the zonal players and the man markers because we need to do it better. We need to be among the best on set pieces off diff if we want to do well in this league. So it's a massive area for us.
Thank you. David Systems, why do we take few shots from outside the box? We always seem to be wanting to walk the ball in. Now, I'm aware that in a sense you do have kind of metrics and for your preferred preferences from shooting. What is your policy on that?
2 things. One, we are a big believer of making the chance bigger, and the chance bigger is not 25 passes and we need to square it 3 times inside the 6 box. It's not about that, but creating good opportunities where we increase the opportunities to score. So that's maybe producing a cross from a better position, or this is just playing the chance bigger. Our owner Matthew Benham is a big believer of almost never shoot outside the box. And showing a lot of stats on that. So it's not that we can't shoot outside the box, but I'm also, if you're running into 3 players and you're shooting out of balance, I kill the players, because I think that's the most stupid thing. So if you count all the amount of stupid shots players for any team are taking where they're not in balance, I think that's horrendous. If you're in balance, good opportunity, then I think it's a good idea to do that sometimes. But we have a big focus on play the chance bigger, and if you can't have a clear good shot opportunity, then produce a good cross that we believe we can create from.
Interesting point came out of that. When Matthew Benham has statistics to prove to his point of view a certain thing, doesn't that put you as the head coach under a certain pressure to agree with him?
Yes and no. I think I'm quite a logical person, so it makes sense for me not to shoot outside the box. You can see, and we know from the stats, I knew that before. What is it? 90% of all goals is scored inside the 18-yard box. So why shoot outside the 18-yard box? It doesn't make any sense if that's the case. So if the stats are backed with that, then I buy it. We have another discussion about how many offensive players you need to have on the pitch. I say that I like that, but not against Man City, for example. So we have good discussions, Matthew, and I said that many times. Matthew is a top 3 owner in the world, and the only reason I'm not saying 1 is because I don't know all the other owners.
Okay, slightly different type of question from David Anderson. You clearly watch a hell of a lot of games, in preparation for our fixtures. Which do you actually enjoy watching, partly to try and learn tactically interesting new things, both in Britain or in Europe? Any team that stands out for you at the moment that you like the look of?
Now I've been privileged to be here in the Premier League for the last 18 months that you've been watching a lot. I think actually Brighton are doing well. I like the way they are setting up and their structure. I think Arsenal this year, not only because they're top of the league, I think they play some top football. So enjoy preparing for them. Outside Europe, Barcelona is getting a little bit back. I know they went out of the Champions League, but in the Liga they're doing well. I think they do well. Who else?
Okay. Well, some may come to you. We'll push on because we're coming towards about the final 15 minutes, if that's okay. Some personal questions. Ronan Doyle, if you were offered the Denmark national team manager job today, would you take it?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I think for me, where I come from, the Danish job first, as a Dane, you'll always be a massive job. Potentially in some ways the biggest, because you're representing your country. I'm a football fan. I've been in Parken, the national stadium, many times supporting Denmark. I was in '96 in England, hanging around on pubs, being massively pissed, supporting Denmark, cheering them on. So I know the feelings. It will be a very proud moment if that happens one day. I think in life and football, it's all about timing. I don't think the timing is right. I said that many times also in terms of other speculations about my future. I love my job in Brentford. I love being part of what we all have together. You fans, me, staff, players, everyone. So the timing will not be top. So I guess the answer will be no.
Okay, thank you. We got to that answer. Thank you. Well, that'll be. I mean, I think we were all sad to see Denmark go out because I think some of us have as a second team. But I think people will be pleased to hear that this isn't an immediate option you'd like to take up. But Andrew Zanto says, what does it actually feel like when you're the top class manager and you seem to be linked with every time a job comes up? I mean, it's flattering on one hand, but is it possibly a bit distracting?
I think we all only human. So I think it's always nice. I can only speak for myself. I guess also the most people get flattered if you are linked with other jobs. For me, go into my head, 2 seconds thoughts. Nice. Someone must recognize that we're doing something good here, and then come back and I look at my players, the team, the staff, the club, the fans, and I'm thinking, why leave? I'm very happy here. Very happy. And in many ways, and there's a lot of unfinished business I want to achieve here in a very special place.
So what would be an example of the unfinished business?
Yeah, I just think we still have a lot of things to improve. I still think that the team can be better. I still think we can improve the club. I still improve the performance level. I love us to be even more better playing in phases. I want us to make. I know we already, all of us, made remarkable, magic, historical moments and results, but I want to make more here. I'm happy. It's a good place to be.
Thank you. William Singleton, who's 16, says, I must tell you, you are a football genius. My question is, says William, what is your favourite Brentford Premier League goal? Well, you've mentioned Sergi's one against Arsenal. I suppose Ivan's against Man City would possibly be a contender. Any other ones that come to mind? There've been so many of them, really, haven't there?
Yeah, we've been pleased with that.
Yeah.
I will go with Sergi's because maybe it was not the best build-up or whatever, but I think the meaning of it and everything behind it, and that just kicked off our Premier League journey. That is special. I think it's special for everyone in many ways.
Quick fire ones now. Quick predictions, quick forecast, Thomas. Freddie Shanahan, who's going to win the World Cup?
Brazil.
Right. Do you think Brentford will be in the Premier League top 10 this season?
Oh, I always say we end as high as possible. Try to win the next match. So I need to stick with that, and as high as possible could be that.
Okay. What is your wildest dream? I presume that's a football dream.
The wildest dream. Ooh. Honestly, I think that must be to win something with Brentford right now, because I don't know if I'm going to another club or not in 10 years time, and then win something with Brentford.
And Christmas is coming up. What's top of your wish list, football wish list for Christmas?
Definitely a win Boxing Day against Tottenham.
Okay, that's good. Now, a few left field questions before we finish. How do you keep your hair looking so good? Asked Raj Kumra.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I should use more conditioner and stuff like that. My wife and my hair cutter says that to me, but I think it's I'm privileged with some good hair genes.
And Leif Peterson wants to know about the significance of the chewing gum. Does it make you more relaxed in stressful moments?
Does it look like that sometimes when I get into the heated? I think, honestly, it's just a bad habit I've got of the chewing gum, and of course I've heard the comment many times that it's crazy how much you're chewing, and then I look at it and I think, wow, that's crazy. But probably I can't help it. That's one of my bad habits.
Okay, now a couple of these are messages as much as questions. Keith McInnes emailed, not a question as such, but if I can, could I express my greatest appreciation and gratitude for everything you do? And Nigel Baldwin says, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thanks for all the pleasure you have given every Brentford supporter. And I guess, Thomas, that everyone on this call now would agree with that, and thank you for that.
Thank you so much. We do it together. Thank you very much.
Now, just a farewell. I announced at the start of this Zoom that this would be my last AGM because I was going to stand down after 4 years, and Stuart Hatch is taking over as my replacement. And I remembered that I think the first time we met was at your press conference in the old Porter cabin at Jersey Road, and I presented you with a giant Danish pastry on behalf of Bees United to wish you well. But then, of course, there was a run of 10 quite awkward games with not many games won. Did you ever think that you would therefore be leading Brentford into the Premier League and beating all these top teams at that moment?
First, you remember that it was a very nice pastry, and I hope everyone are going to Ole and Steen across London, especially Richmond must be the local shop. For me, it's the Cinnabon still.
I thought you were the wrong one, actually.
Yeah, you got that's good, but the Cinnamon Social is definitely the favorite and the go-to. If none of you have tried it, it's a must as any bee fan. I think, to be completely honest, when I took over, of course, I had a dream of get us promoted to the Premier League, but in that run or that bad spell, the only thing I was thinking about, just win a game, just win the next game. And I never remember the Bolton game where we won 1-0, and it seems like we turned a corner, and in many ways we never look back. I know it was a minor setback with not getting promoted in the first season. The first playoff final, but I think that makes us stronger, and I think this honestly fit perfectly with our story. It was unbelievable, painful, but for all the Bees fans. Imagine us the first year in the Premier League with no fans. It was in a way meant to be painful, but meant to be, and we learned from it and we got stronger, and hopefully there's so many more moments we can celebrate together. And to you, Stu, thank you for everything you have done. I hope you're still cheering us on and come to the games and support us all. That will mean a lot.
Okay, thank you. And I've got one anecdote that you do not know.
Oh.
When that losing streak was at its really nadir, in the press room at Griffin Park, which is almost as bad as the Portakabin at Jersey Road, you had given a press conference about another defeat. And after you left the room, the considered opinion of Her Majesty's press was that you were dead meat. And Peter Gillam walked into the room and overheard this and made a speech. I cannot call it anything other than a speech, saying what a wonderful guy you were, how you were going to be proved right, and all the hacks were going to be proved wrong. And he showed enormous loyalty to you at that moment. And of course, Matthew showed enormous loyalty to you as well. And I think everyone would say you have repaid that loyalty 10 times over. So thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you to Kieran Brett, who's been alongside you from the club media team, to the production team from Bees United, that's Don, Chris, Jim, and John. For the videos, great stills from Mark Fuller and from Gareth Wright of Engage Convert, who did the video production. Good night to you, Thomas. Good night to the squad. Have a great training camp. Have a great Boxing Day. We all wish you well, and good night, Bees everywhere. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.